Welcome back to the wake up call for a Friday morning. We are into the 8 o'clock hour right now, 2 minutes after 8. All right, at this time, we're joined by lawyer K. Bacchus-Baptiste, who represented Mr. Cornelius John in the very recently concluded trial between Morgan, Nelson, and John. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, Crystal. Good morning, St. Vincent and Grenadines.
All right, how are you feeling this morning?
Well, I am fine. I am disappointed and sad for Mr. Cornelius John,
Mm-hmm.
who did not really get a fair trial, but
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Why do you say he didn't get a fair trial?
Well, if you want to find a precedent for the way to throw a case, if you have a prosecution that is not interested in getting a conviction, this case will pose an excellent study in the way to do it. Let me start with the first thing,
Mm-hmm.
the medical certificate.
Mm-hmm.
When Mr. John was shot, he was taken by police to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
He had a lot of trouble getting his medical. For some reason, I had to write a letter. They told him they couldn't find his records. He had to go and come, and the public would remember that he made an issue of it. They couldn't find it. Eventually, he got the medical. To his alarm, when he got the medical, there were several things wrong. There were insertions that were erroneous put into his medical, and there were serious omissions. The insertions were, of course, that they complained that he said there were two men who attacked him. No mention of the woman. Normally, you do not even put that kind of detail into a medical certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And they had very other details about whether he was drinking, he was living with his wife, things like that were not true. But the egregious part were the omissions. He complained of being kicked in his stomach until he defecated. He said they had to give him injections in his stomach because of how tender it was and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
The medical examination showed in his report that there was nothing wrong with his stomach. I predicted that any defense lawyer will make heavy weather of that. And it is precisely what the defense did. They said that Mr. John is a liar. He cannot be trusted because the medical showed there was nothing wrong with his stomach. It is absolutely egregious that this had to happen. I wrote the chief medical officer. I wrote the Dr. Woods, who issued and signed that medical certificate, and asked for an explanation for these things. I did not get even the courtesy of an acknowledgement of the letter. The letter was copied to the Director of Public Prosecution.
Are you sure they got it?
They got the letter. They left those letters. They left the medical report like that. So I call that the doctored medical report. Strike one.
Mm-hmm.
Strike two, of course, is that they took weeks to carry out any investigation, and only after a loud outcry and demonstrations by the public. Many key witnesses were not interviewed until weeks after. Then they did not intend to call the first eyewitness who got to the scene. They called her, and for some reason or the other, the prosecutor neglected to ask her to identify who the tall man was. I pointed it out to him. Later, I said, but this is strange. The first witness who went on the scene said she could have identified who the tall man was. That was never introduced in the case. In the end, he had to admit, the prosecutor, that that was a grave omission in the case. He has to admit that the defense have a point. Nobody identified Kareem Nelson as the person who went on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is a statement by Kareem Nelson admitting he was on the scene, that he discharged his gun at Mr. John, though he said it was because Mr. John pulled a cutlass, which we say is not true. There was never a cutlass. That was never put into the case. He did not. They used a stupid excuse that it was not a caution statement. Now, I have done several cases, criminal cases, where the accused don't even sign what he says to the police. You just tell the police something, and the police will make a note, or the police will say, he told me so and so during the investigation.
Okay.
You have a defendant signing a statement. It is not a caution statement, but it is a statement nevertheless that they got during the investigation.
Mm-hmm.
They did not reveal it. I pointed that out to the prosecutor. He just did not bring that evidence in before the court.
Mm.
Then there was the evidence of Mrs. John, who said that Asher texted her after the message her after the incident, a day or two after, and upbraided her for saying that there was no cutlass by saying you are contradicting me. What does that mean? Because Mrs. John said clearly there was never a cutlass. There was no cutlass at any time. Not even when he was giving her the words, throwing out the threatening words, which she said she did not take that seriously. And certainly on the night there was no cutlass.
And all this was said in court.
I'm saying she said that in court,
Oh.
right? But when she tried to bring out the evidence of that, Asher messaged her after and said, well, he know not to mess with women anymore. That came in. The prosecution objected strongly that she should not be able to say that she messaged her and say, that you contradicted me. How you didn't tell the police there was a cutlass? Why you didn't tell the police there was a cutlass? However, the magistrate allowed it in. But the defense asked her, where is the message? She said, I have it on my phone. They said, show me. When she went to her phone, a message that she had seen days before was deleted. So that was taken to say that the woman is a liar. Now, everybody knows if you send somebody a WhatsApp message, you could delete it at any time. You can
Well,
delete
you
it.
have to delete it within a certain time for it to disappear from the
You can.
recipient's phone.
You know how to delete it.
Mm.
There are ways to do it.
Oh.
That lady said that she saw the message. The prosecutor saw the message. Our DPP saw the message. But somehow it disappeared from her phone. So that they used that, oh, how terrible, the woman is lying. You know?
Mhm.
Then, of course, there was the incident of the most egregious one of all, is that the magistrate refused to summon a witness, a, a prosecution witness, who was an eyewitness, who was there at all times, and that is Vernon Adams, who went along with Kareem and Ashel, according to their statement and according to the defense, to the virtual complainant, Mr. John's statement. He was there. He put them on the scene. He said what happened. But he's a very close friend and relative of Carrie Nelson.
So do you think that that's why that was done, or I'm trying to understand?
I'm saying
Mhm.
that he did not turn up when told to come to court to give the evidence. The prosecution rightfully asked the court to issue a summons to compel him to come, and the court refused. This is unheard
A
of.
witness.
As a witness, it is unheard of what sort of precedent you are setting. So you're telling me that if you have a serious case, a murder case, or a rape case, or whatever, and a main witness to the crown or any witness to the crown who refused to come, and you apply to the court to say, well, send a summons to him because he's not coming, the court would refuse. That is the worst decision I've ever heard or seen a magistrate make. Worst decision. What was his reason? The case was going on for too long. The case should have been 3 days. The case is going 6 days now. It's too long. The lawyer for the defense, one of the lawyers for the defendant said, well, Senator need to get back to Parliament, and Mr. Karim need to get back to DPP job. Therefore, don't give a fair trial. They didn't say that, but they're saying, therefore, don't call a witness that can put him on the scene. And the magistrate acceded to that sort of objection. It is very, very wrong. When you add all these things up, in truth and in fact, the defense have to do their work. I don't blame a defense. They were handed a cherry on a plate. They were handed cherries on a plate. I am saying that from day one, the police, the DPP's office, never intended to properly prosecute these people. I predicted, and I said it more than once, that if I was a defense lawyer and you're giving me that sort of evidence, the defenders would walk.
So you're saying that it was easy for their lawyers to.
Easy. They never charged a trespass charge. That was the first charge you should give. There's absolutely no explanation as to why there was no trespass charge.
Okay.
None
All right.
whatsoever.
All right. So I'm very sorry, but we're gonna have to stick a pin right here. I'm not sure if you would have time to continue after or in the next 10 minutes or so. But we'll connect off air, right? So we gotta stick a pin there. All right.
Uh-huh.
And thank you
Okay.
so much so far. All right.
Sure.
All
Yes,
right.
no problem.
All right. All
Okay.
right. All
All
right.
right. Bye bye.
All right. All right. Well, you heard the first part there, and hopefully we can